So, part 2 of this. So he did start to understand the vein pain, and he goes on to say that the vein pain is not from EDS. Then he went on to say that the other doctors were wrong for, none of them told me I had EDS 4, but I've had a handful of them say that I have significant signs of 4. He was more than willing to give me the test that cost over $3,000 and didn't know if my insurance covered it. But he is set that I don't have 4, which is good because, EDS 4 says you'll die before you're 40 or whatever. I don't think like that or anything like that, but I still am on the vein thing. I do have vein issues. He was happy with my aorta's been checked, and echoes have been checked, and he was happy with that, even though at that time he had not had any of my records. He had lost my records. I'll go on to talk about that in a second. He also was not convinced that compression was helping me, and that other things, infusions, he didn't think that infusions were helping me. Other things that made me think that he didn't really know about any kind of POTS. And so with the EDS POTS combo, the other doctors did know more about that. Same with infusions. He didn't think that was, he thought those were a waste. Even though there was records of how both infusions and compression have been huge in my life. I mean, my body did not heal. I would have sores that would be 6 months old or worse and would not heal. And once I started wearing compression, they would heal in days instead of months or even years. So, hey, I hate compression. They're hot, they're nasty, hard to wear, but huge difference. I mean, blood pressure, healing, lots of differences. And some of that's in my records, but at that time they had lost my records and misfiled them. So at this point he didn't have anything of mine. So while I was waiting for anionic testing, the nurse called me and told me that they had misfiled everything, and that she had found everything, and that she had walked everything down to the neurologist that I'll see on Monday. They told me before I came they would fill in my schedule, and usually they were really good about it and not to worry. They did not. So what's this, a 4-day gap? I think that's very unacceptable, and I think it's unacceptable that they don't work on weekends also. That it's, what if I didn't have a place to go? So I'd be sitting in Rochester for 4 days without any help? That's just not acceptable. All the appointments I had today had been scheduled for over 6 months. Then my schedule on Monday has been scheduled for over 6 months. He was all set on the fibromyalgia stuff and wanted to add in some of that. A lot of those couldn't get me in until the 20th. They've had my records for a long time. I would have thought that they would have looked over them and maybe added some things to my schedule already, but they didn't. Then he told me that he knew that the neuro was going to add a bunch of stuff, but he wouldn't because he didn't want to step on the neuro's toes and order them, because that was really his job, which I thought was silly again. If you know they're going to be ordered, let's get them scheduled in. There's still no real schedule for next week. They have a lot of itineraries, and they still have me scheduled for stuff on like the 20th and stuff like that, which I'm not going to go to, but they said keep them on the schedule because if there's a cancellation I can get moved up, which still I'm at this point a little disappointed and frustrated and some of those things I think are silly. They drew blood. Their drawing blood process was really great. Walked in the line. At that point, I was very potsy and was sitting in the line. Hey, I'm at Mayo. I'm at Mayo for a reason. I felt like, I can scoot, and I know you potsies know what I mean. There, then they said they could check me in early because there was like a 2 hour gap between my geneticist, and so I got out of like the geneticist at like 10:30, and my appointment was at 12:30. At that point, I was not doing well, feeling super horrible. They said they could get me in faster. If I checked in faster, they didn't. They did not see me until 1. By that time, I was so sick that when they called my name, I shook my head. It was me, and they came over and held my hand to the room. I was so sick by that time. When I went back to the on test, I had a sweat test, which looked normal. I don't know what to look for on those. I've had them before. There wasn't any issues. The breathing test, the thing that you bite down on and breathe like almost like you're blowing up a balloon. I kind of told you guys the story before. I thought she said 140 and she only said 40, and a lot of people can't breathe much higher than that anyway, and I hit like 90 or something, and she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was gonna make myself pass out or something. So that was funny. We know my lungs are good, huh? So I could see significant changes in the breathing test. I had some really high blood pressures, like 140 over 120. I didn't really have any crazy high heart rates the whole time. I used to get like 200s, 180s normal, and I probably didn't have anything over 150 today. Then my tilt was not a bad tilt. Laying down, my pulse was like 85, 90. My blood pressure was like 105, 70. When they stood me up and when I got pretty steady, I think I went up to like 135, 140, something not really significant. I mean, for a potsy. But I stayed at like that 125, and I stayed steady there. So that was from, 80, let's say 87 to 125. So that was more than a 30 or 30 rise. So definitely POTS. BP as I was standing, I had some lows, but my pulse pressure, I've been having a lot of 80s over 40s, but I had an 80 over 60, so I had a really low pulse pressure. But as an average of the time I was standing, it was only a 10-minute stand. I think it was a little bit more than that, but I think it was about 10 minutes. It wasn't like a 30-minute one as the ones I've done before. I'd say as an average, my blood pressure was like 90 over 70. Again, a small pulse pressure and really not that low. I've been way lower than that lately. Then I left after the autonomic testing, and that was a 4+ hour drive to Galena, Illinois, where I am now, and I will stay until Sunday night. What I've learned from this trip so far is really a lot about myself, how strong I am, and how proud I am of myself for really kicking these diseases' butts. That was his main thing, is he doesn't see people like me that really, come in there and really have all these diseases and really just conquer them. And, I've heard it before and stuff like that, but I don't know. It was significant today. And